Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We want to thank all of you for coming. And if you guys could all go ahead and find your seats, we'll go ahead and get started. I just want to start out by thanking our panel of speakers to my left here, who are coming to educate us and help us to explore the different services that are available through their areas of expertise in home and home health care. I will be having Sue Ellefson come to introduce us to our speakers, as well as to facilitate their time, as well as our question and answer time. Before I do that, though, I just wanted to thank our Life Transitions team, Sue Ellefson, Suzanne Whitney, Becky Ham, Annette Saxer, and Nancy Diller for the time, effort, and hard work they put into making these events available to you. At the conclusion of our time, the doors in the back will be open, and we will be serving light refreshments that you will be able to enjoy inside or outside on the patio out back. And before we begin, I would like to ask Pastor Patrick to open us up with prayer, and then Sue Ellefson will come to facilitate the discussion of each of our speakers. Each speaker will have 20 minutes to speak, and at the conclusion, we will open up the floor for questions and answers for about a half an hour.
Did I understand right? You said there were going to be refreshments after this? I'll make sure I heard right. Important information. Welcome to every one of you. Thank you for being here. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, for your blessings. We thank you for the opportunity to meet together about a very important matter today, and we're grateful for folks who have come to help us with this. Thank you so much for our panelists. We pray, Lord, that you will bless that this not only will be informational and helpful, but we pray also that we may have a better idea and understanding of what it means to be a child of the one true and living God. We thank you, O Lord, and give you praise through Jesus Christ. Amen. Sue?
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you all for coming today. We have a wonderful turnout, and we appreciate your being here. And I can guarantee you that you will get lots of good information today from our three speakers. And our first speaker at the end there is, well, no, we should do ladies first. So we'll go. We got Rhiannon McLennan. And we have Carrie Neville. Rhiannon McLennan is from Hope Hospice, and Carrie Neville is with Griswold Home Care, and Aaron Moss is with Trilogy Home Care. So which one of you would like to go first? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rhiannon.
I may not need it, to be real honest. That's okay.
It's on.
It's on? There. Oh, I see how this works. Well, I'm going to use some notes because I'm not good without my notes, and I'm going to stand because I just like to hear myself talk. But we thought that we would start with me because I work with Hope Hospice, and we thought we'd start with the people you least want to see and end with like the good stuff where you really would like to be, right? My name is Rhiannon. I am with Hope Healthcare. Hope Healthcare is we actually have 10 to 12 community-based programs, but I'm going to talk mostly about our hospice program. If there's ever a need for some of our other programs, please grab my card. You can always shoot me an email, and I'd love to tell you about some of the other things that we do. Hope Healthcare has been in our community here in Southwest Florida for over 40 years. We were founded in the early 70s, volunteer only. What's interesting about Hope Healthcare is that we started just shortly after the beginning of hospice as we know it. Hospice as we know it started in the mid-60s in London at a church called St. Christopher's. And we were right on their heels in 1974 here in Southwest Florida, volunteer only for many, many years. It wasn't until the 80s that Medicare said, hey, we should maybe help people and pay for this. And Hope said, fantastic, sign me up, and we applied for our Medicare license. So we have been an active Medicare hospice provider in Lee County since the mid-'80s. So we're very proud of that. Our CEO, her name is Samira. She has been with our organization for over 30 years. She's right here in Southwest Florida. She still is in the office almost every single day. She has almost over 1,000 employees, and she knows us by name. When she sees me, she says, hello, Rhiannon, and I am still blown away that she knows who I am because I'm just a peon that walks through the office once a week. Hospice, the word hospice is actually a religious term, believe it or not, that referred to a religious pilgrimage and the rest for the weary. So I think that's a really interesting thing because we think of hospice as a medical term and as a medical service, but really it's more of an emotional service. We're here to provide rest for the weary, and that's where we came from in our beginnings. Hospice provides emotional and physical care and comfort in those end stages of life. Who here believes that hospice is just for that last few days, last few weeks? Anybody? Yeah? 6 months. We got someone who knows a little bit. So an interesting thing, it's a common misconception, is that my computer died, so I'm going to have to wing it. Here we go. An interesting thing about hospice is that we have this number in our head, this 6 months. It's just for those last 6 months. The truth is that's kind of hypothetical, you know? We, in a perfect world, we all know what's going to happen in our lives, but we definitely don't. And I personally believe that not a single one of us knows if we've got 6 minutes, 6 months, or 600 years. The way hospice works is if a person has a life-limiting illness, such as cancer or heart disease or something of that nature, 2 physicians have to agree that if the disease follows its normal course, then maybe someone has about 6 months to live. So there's a lot of maybes in there. The interesting thing about hospice is we use the term free loosely because nothing's free, right? We've all paid our taxes, we know. But you've already paid for this benefit. It's a benefit that comes to you because you've already paid for it. And you cannot exhaust the benefit. So if a patient comes on hospice services, and they get the referral, 2 physicians say, yeah, this might be the right thing. We bring them on to service, and sometimes people get better, more often than you think. And then we take them off of service because they don't need us anymore. And then if they need us again 3 or 4 months down the line, maybe a year or 2 later, they call us back, we come back. My background, I was a social services director for a skilled nursing facility many years ago. I'm older than I look. And I had a little lady in my building that I referred to hospice 4 times before she passed when she was almost 100 years old. And her daughter joked that her mom always made sure she got what she paid for. So hospice is there's a little more flexibility than we think about hospice. Hospice is going to provide, it's paid for by Medicare. And Medicare is going to pay for pretty much everything related to the diagnosis. So it's going to cover any sort of medication for the diagnosis, any sort of equipment, so maybe a special bed or things of that nature. It's going to cover all of that kind of stuff. In addition, it's going to provide amazing spiritual care, emotional care for not just the patient, but also their families. I know I've only got 20 minutes, so I will keep it brief, but I am personally passionate about hospice care. I've worked in this industry for 13 years, and I worked before then too. See, I'm older than you think. And I've seen firsthand professionally the benefits of hospice care. But in 2017, I lost my grandfather. He was the first grandparent that I've lost. I've been very fortunate to have had a long time with all of my grandparents. And he had a stroke, and we brought him home on hospice care. And it was sudden, and we only had about 5 days with him before he passed. And we were able to be in our home with him, in his home that they'd lived in for 30 years, he and my grandmother. And my dad was there, and all of his brothers, he's got a few of them, and all of their wives, and all of my cousins. And we sat there as a family for 5 days, and we ordered in food, and we shared bottles of wine, and we went through, can I say that in a church? It's a Presbyterian church. I can say that, right? Yeah, that's okay. And we went through photo albums, and it was truly an incredible memory where we sat and we really visited and shared these experiences, these shared memories about my grandfather, and he was there. And a lot of research shows that hearing is the last thing to go when someone is passing. So I like to think that in his last few days and moments, he heard us laughing and sometimes crying and talking about all of the wonderful things that he did and said that had an impact on our life. And it turned what was a really horrible thing into something that was kind of weirdly beautiful and spiritual. And that's why I am so passionate about hospice care, because I know that what it did for my grandfather was incredible, but what it did for us as a family was just as incredible. It provided us that extra support that we needed to get through something like that. So I love hospice care. I'm passionate about it. It's going to provide excellent care for family members, for the patients. We have everything from nurses to home health aides to therapists, believe it or not, physical therapists, occupational therapy. That's a misconception. People often think that you can't continue with therapy. Sometimes you can. It depends on the diagnosis. We have, bereavement counselors. We provide after-the-fact bereavement services for family members up to over a year. We have pet therapy. One of my favorite things, do I have any pet owners? Do I have any pet parents in here? I have 2 dogs, and I had 2 dogs before. I'm always going to have 2 dogs. My husband hates that, but he's still with me. So we will do everything we can to keep pets with our patients until the very last moment. Our caregivers will provide care for the pets. And then if a patient passes and that pet does not have a home, maybe no family member wants it or there's no one to take it, we will place that pet ourselves. We will not put that pet in a shelter. It's honestly one of the hardest parts of my job is when I get emails with these cute animal pictures. And they're like, so-and-so needs, Fluffy needs a new home. He just lost his owner. And I'm like, oh my gosh. My husband says I can't bring home another dog. So if we have a 2-year-old, we probably don't need another dog. But Hope Hospice, Hope Healthcare is an incredible organization because we care about people at the end of the day. We're a non-for-profit, which I think sets us apart personally. I've worked in this industry long enough to know the difference between for-profit and non-for-profit hospice organizations, and I do believe there's a difference in the core of what the priority is, if that makes sense. So Hope is a non-for-profit. Because of that, we rely heavily on donors for our funding, and because of that, we're able to provide care for everyone. So hospice is almost always covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance, and in 99% of cases, and that's a wonderful thing. But once in a while, we come across a referral, a patient that does not have any insurance, they don't have any income, and they have nothing. We will provide care even if they can't pay for it. We don't care. It's the right thing to do, and that's what we do. So that's a little bit about Hope Healthcare. I'll pass it on. I don't want to take too much time. If you need more than, I just left one brochure. Who wants to read about dying, really, But if you want more, I left more brochures as well as some ink pens, things like that in my card back there. And if you don't want it, just when I'm not looking, throw it in the trash and I'll pretend I didn't see. So I look forward to your questions afterwards.
Pastor John, you did it again. How is everyone today? My name's Aaron, and I snored a little bit too much last night, so I'm really glad the microphone's working good. Before I was a home health patient care coordinator, I was a sleep therapist. So if any of you need a nap, feel free. Feel free. So I did that for about 15 years, and traveled around, and my mom has lived down here since the late 80s. My grandparents retired in Cape Coral in the 80s, if anybody ever goes over the bridge. And as I got older and she got older, I knew I was going to be the person to take care of her. And so once her health kind of got too hard for her to travel, I moved my family here from Alaska. Yeah, it's quite a journey. Yeah, and Palmer. Palmer's a beautiful place. So, I really wanted to get my mom out to the West Coast, but she hated the cold, and she wanted to stay here. And so you learn a lot of things as you go. I think that's how it is for everybody, and sometimes that's for the better or for the worse. But that's kind of what we're here to do today, is to educate you guys and encourage you to educate yourselves. And you obviously have people who are trying to empower you in all sorts of ways, which is great. It's a blessing. So I came down here as a sleep therapist and worked for Lee Memorial and also for Physicians Regional in Naples, and met some physicians there that had a home health agency, which is we'll kind of explain and we'll come back to it. So Griswold is a private duty. They can work with your long-term insurance, and they are private pay. If you need aides or assistance at home or nursing and that sort of thing, you will pay out of pocket for that. We call that private pay in the industry, and that's home care. So what I do is home health. So home health is a little bit different, mostly for folks who are on Medicare. So once you turn 65 and your Medicare kicks in, you're gonna be entitled to those benefits. And the services we deliver are quite vast. We have respiratory therapists and speech therapists and physical therapists and occupational therapists. We have nurses that can check your blood pressure. They can see how you're adjusting to your diet, your different changes in medication, all that type of thing. So there's a lot we can do. And I have some brochures here. And we work with cardiologists. We work with all sorts of different doctors. Like if you had a knee surgery and you've got a little bit of a wound and it's hard for you to get out after your surgery, we can come and dress your wound at home. And as we get a little bit older, that's, the feet become a big thing. So we get a lot of referrals from podiatrists. You have to be homebound. Doesn't mean you can't go out to eat, doesn't mean that you can't go to church, but that it has to be kind of difficult for you to leave the house. Obviously, too, if you get assistance leaving the house, that definitely means homebound. Sometimes people are homebound just for a certain amount of time. Maybe you have a stroke and you're going to recover from that. What we do is try to get you healthy enough and strong enough again to be able to go out to your appointments. But COVID changed things a lot as well to make it to where during COVID we were able to see a lot more people at home. And you guys are really lucky because in this area there are a lot of home services. Mobile therapy is a really big thing, and that's a part of your Medicare Part B benefit. So if you can't get out to a physical therapy gym, there are a lot of mobile therapists that take insurance that can come to you. So I've been doing this for about 6 years now, and we all kind of learn each other's services so that we can better help, when we get into those situations. I'm trying to think, most importantly, patient choice is another thing that we talk about. So Trilogy, I think we're the 3rd or 4th largest home health provider in Florida. We're just in the state of Florida. We used to be a company called Nurse on Call. So if you guys had friends or relatives, they used to be a little bit bigger in the area. But they're all supposed to offer the same level of care. But just like anything else, it helps if you do a little research before you get to that part. But typically all these companies are supposed to give you the same service. And just because, Medicare or insurance pays for it, you're still entitled to a very high quality, level of care. And the thing about being down here is it's very competitive, so there are probably, 100 companies like Carrie's, and there are about 88 like mine. So, there's quite a few. But it's good to know. When let's say you get into one of these situations and you have to go to the hospital or you have to go to a rehab, the social worker, like our friend down here used to be, a discharge planner once upon a time. So the discharge planner typically has a company or a few that are her go-to, that they communicate well and that sort of thing. I always try to visit my patients at the rehab or the hospital before they go home, and get to know them and give them my card. But so that process, usually the discharge planner is going to pick out a company, and then there's an order from the physician at the hospital or the rehab, typically for skilled nursing and physical therapy and occupational therapy. But there's a bunch of other services as well. So those are really the big things. You want to educate yourself, I think, before you get to that position, and I'm sure you guys have a community too, to where you help each other make some of those choices. But I'm really glad to be here today and kind of open up that, and we'll have some questions, I think, soon. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Give an indication of maybe some one or two top questions they should ask themselves or an agency before they choose an agency?
Sure. So good questions to ask. Local companies are always better, I think. But some of us work for national groups as well. But you always want to have someone local kind of overseeing it. I guess going off of what Sue said, one of the biggest, most important things for the benefit that I can deliver to people is they have to have a primary care physician. That's a big one. We can get a referral from a specialist or a surgeon or a cardiologist or something like that. But in general, you need a primary care physician. And it amazes me how many folks I help that do not. Yeah, and so they live up north half the year, and they think, I barely like my doctor up there. I really don't want another one. But you can have more than one. You can have one down here, and you can have one up there, and maybe one can be declared as your primary, but those visits are covered by your insurance. And, even if it's just once or twice a year, it's really important to have a primary, because that's how you'll be able to get the benefit. But there are a lot of mobile physicians around too, and we work with them as well. So if you did get to that point, or a friend of yours can't leave the house and their doctor is kind of trying to hold them hostage, there are a lot of doctors that will come see you in your house, and they don't charge a fee. They can still bill your insurance. Yeah, there's a lot of them. So maybe that's most important. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Got to get my little here. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you for having all of us. Thank you for welcoming us so beautifully in your congregation. Ron Kick and I go way back, don't we? I'm going to tell you a little bit about Griswold right from the beginning. So Jean Griswold, back in 1982, she was a geriatric counselor, and she was married to a Presbyterian minister in Pennsylvania. And there was a member of their congregation who actually passed away because she had nobody that was looking in on her to care for her, and she had a very preventable illness that could have prevented her death. So Jean Griswold and her girlfriends started a little volunteer group, and they would visit parishioners and people in the community who needed a little extra help, and that organization grew and became an actual company. So Jean Griswold, 40 plus years ago now, 1982, so that's 41 years ago, started Griswold Home Care, and it's grown into over 30 states, over 170 locations, and so her legacy goes on, and and it remains the basis of her foundation that she gives, and she actually even now has a Jean Griswold Foundation that donates to the less fortunate, to the food banks, and now the last 2 years has started scholarships for caregivers going back to school, or even caregivers who have no schooling and that need their education paid for. So she's continuing to give, and she lives on in our background, and I think it's pretty special that they were Presbyterians just like the rest of us. And I'm a Presbyterian, so there it goes. And I know Aaron touched a little bit about the difference between home care and home health. Like he said, home health is paid for by your Medicare, Part A. It's physical therapy, occupational therapy, nursing, psych nursing, wound care, med management, everything that you need a professional license for. So all of those services, and not limited to just what I mentioned, are paid for by your Medicare or your insurance. And then home care is everything that is not provided by hospice, by Medicare home health. It's the little things that you need to stay independent in your home. So it'd be bathing, dressing, grooming, transportation, med reminders, light housekeeping, did I say dressing, companionship. We have a caregiver that just goes with a gentleman on his golf cart 3 days a week because he's afraid he's going to fall. So he has somebody with him. We have caregivers that have worked in nursing homes and facilities and are very skilled and can do all the activities of daily living to keep somebody independent in their home. Say they had a stroke and they need help with toileting, dressing, bathing, bed bath, showers, anywhere from 2 hours all the way up to 24/7. And even we have live-in caregivers that basically live in your home and act as kind of like, an Alice on the Brady Bunch, can do everything, in the home for that person. So the options are limitless. You're not stuck with a specific schedule, and you're in control of your schedule and your caregivers. And we try to aim to obviously keep you, informed of everything that's going on. Whether they have family up north, we can provide, basically be the earpiece and the mouthpiece for that client so that we can communicate with the children that live up north or the spouse, and we can be respite. Someone may need a week to go up north because there's a wedding, and say grandpa's at home and he has Alzheimer's and needs a live-in caregiver for that week, or even a weekend, we can provide that. You can have a long-term live-in. We have live-ins that have been at clients for 10, 12 years still, so it's anywhere, like I said, short visit, long visit, and it's basically to keep people independent so they can stay in their home. However, we provide a lot of caregivers for clients who are in independent living and don't wish to move to the assisted living portion because, say, there's a couple and the one spouse needs more care than the other, and they prefer to stay in independent living. So we can provide a caregiver for that, for the spouse who needs a little extra care, so they don't both have to move to assisted living. Sometimes when clients move to memory care, they need a little extra hands-on because there may not be as many caregivers in memory care as you prefer. And as you know, a lot of times they wander, they're sundowning in the evening, so it's always good we can provide a caregiver in the facility, sometimes just even for the first week to get that person acclimated, where to go, how to go down to the dining room, etc. So we're not just limited to the home. We can go on vacation with the clients. We have some clients that caregivers that go with the clients up north and then come back down, so they can travel with you. It's really you're in control of your caregiver, and we would match them up depending on what your needs are and what you like. And then, so obviously there's probably 350,000 people right now in the state of Florida that live in facilities and assisted living facilities, etc. So there's a lot of needs, and there's obviously not that many people that work in the community that can provide one-on-one care. So we have the option of, even if it's temporary, we have caregivers that will stay in the home till the end of life with hospice. Say their family is up north and they want somebody hands-on to be there until the end of life, and we can provide that as well. So you're not obligated for a long contract or for anything longer than you actually need. So it's kind of nice in that respect. What we do is we come out to the home, we get all the information, and we have like a checklist of must be 100 things on here that we can do as the caregiver and what you want us to do, so that we share with our caregiver what they're allowed to do and what you want them to do. So we'll customize it however you want it. Say you're going to have a knee replacement and you go to rehab, we can pick you up from the rehab, bring you home, get you all set up for a couple hours or for a couple days. We have a gal right now who just had hip surgery. younger than myself, and we provided day and night care for the 3-4 days until she was able to get up on her own and walk around and be totally independent. So it can be short-term, long-term, for whatever you need it for. And then as far as paying for private duty, like I said, that is not covered under Medicare. All the things that hospice does and home health does, then the little things that they don't do to keep you independent is what we do. So it's either private pay, we accept all long-term care insurance policies. So if you have one, generally you probably took it out in your 50s or 60s when you were younger. It's very important to let your children know that you have it. I can't tell you how many times that we find out after the fact from the children that, oh, mom and dad never told us they had that policy, and it's in a drawer and it sits there and never gets used or doesn't get used till it's too late. So take advantage of it. And I was telling one gal that once you initiate a claim for home health on your long-term care insurance policy, you stop paying the premiums. So that's a huge benefit. There might be a waiting period, but we can look into that. We have a dedicated team that all they do is our long-term care insurance policies. And it's free of charge to have it looked at, and there's no charge for us to come out to do an intake as well, and we can figure that out for you because it's a maze, that insurance, and it's probably changed since you bought the policy 20, 30 years ago. And if you paid into it for that long, you want to get your money's worth out of it. So that's a big thing, and letting somebody else know that you have it is very important. And I told you about Jean Griswold having the scholarships. I can't think of anything else that I haven't discussed. Can you think of anything? You want to start with questions? Oh, sure. So, yes. Got it. I say, well, our rates, I put it in all the little bags, so it's anywhere from $24 to $30 an hour for hourly. If you're going to, and it's gone up, of course, a lot recently because the caregivers make more money than they used to. I think since COVID, they've really made a lot more. But, and then, so of that, for example, if it's $24 an hour and say the caregiver gets 18, that means the office portion is 6. So the office portion never changes. It all depends on the caregiver. And like I said, the rates are in there. Our live-in rates are very affordable compared to other registries or agencies. So we never hide the prices. You don't have to go through, a big to do about how much it is. It is what it is, and we're happy to share it, and we'll share it with all other agencies. And I would say that what I recommend our clients to do is generally when they leave a facility or when somebody talks to them, they'll say, oh, they gave us 3, companies to call. By all means, call all 3, sign up with all 3 as long as you don't have to give a deposit with anybody, which of course we don't, but as long as you get all the information from them, see who they have available, see how many they have available in the area you live in, ask for references, talk to people that have used us or used them, and see who's available. And you can sign up with as many, as opposed to a home health, as many home care agencies as you want. If you want to sign up with 3 because you like 2 of the caregivers, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't make any difference to us. We play nice in the sandbox with all the home cares. And that people call us for backup because they can't staff it. So I'm happy to do a backup. If you already have a home care company, I can provide it for the hours that you can't. Once you're signed up, you can call and say, hey, my caregiver didn't show up. Do you have somebody for tomorrow morning? And then our schedulers get on board and get somebody scheduled. So we're perfectly happy to work with whoever that you're working with currently. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so just something to add to her, and I obviously I work in hospice, but there is a difference between you guys are an agency, correct? registry. Okay, so there's a difference between the two, and it definitely affects caregivers, I think. So I think that might be something good to like, because it helps pricing wise, I think.
Well, yes, it helps pricing to sign up with a registry, only because we don't have all the fees associated with employment. So basically, every single caregiver, whether they work in the hospital, the nursing home, home care, home health, hospice, they all have to go through ACA, which is our governing board. They all have to have level 2 FBI fingerprinting, references, CEUs for all the necessary items to be a CNA or an HHA or be it a nurse or a therapist. They all have to go through the same vetting and the same backgrounds, everything. So like when a caregiver signs on, we pull up their background check and we can see everyone that they work for, Bright Star, Comfort Keepers. We can see how long they work there for. If we see a caregiver that's worked in 5 different agencies or 5 different places and worked for a month and then they got taken off, well, we don't want to hire that caregiver because chances are there's a reason that they're on and off of many places, that they probably didn't show up or they didn't didn't fulfill their obligation. So once maybe we'll give somebody an excuse, but after that we basically would take them out. And then we report that to ACA and say, you report them out of our system. So it definitely helps pricing wise. There's pros and cons to both, but it's kind of technical, not even technical, it's just kind of preference. And like I said, we're only as good as the caregivers that we send. So
you guys are helping vet them, which is the
yes,
great, making sure they're the right ones. And
exactly.
the
And
good
if you're
ones.
not happy with the caregiver, you can just call the office, and then our HR people would switch them out. It's nothing you have to do, nothing you have to do yourself. So we want everyone to be happy, of course. So for Medicaid, for private duty, there are a couple agencies around here that provide home care through Medicaid or through Sunshine, et cetera. And basically you have to go through them. You have to start off with Medicaid, and it's based on income and your assets and what you've done with your assets, and if you put them in a healthcare trust or whatever, wherever you put them, you still, I believe, you still can have your home, your car, your basic. But I would say if you're thinking of getting on Medicaid at all, talk to a professional Medicaid filer and also like an attorney that specializes in that can guide you the right way so that you're not disposing your assets and you don't need to. So Medicaid pays, but because we're not a Medicaid agency, I don't know all the nuances of I don't know all the specifics for Medicaid, but I can get you in touch with a Medicaid professional if you want that. Just call me and ask me.
Actually, we're going to bring a microphone over.
We're going to open it up to, thank you, Aaron and Carrie and Rhiannon. And we're going to open it up now to questions. Anybody have questions? I'm sure you're, yes.
Are you involved at all with the 5 wishes that you're asking?
Yes, thank you for asking. So 5 Wishes is a document that Hope can provide, Hope Healthcare. It is and I feel like we've met before. Have you, no? Okay, I wonder, you look like someone I've met before. But, so I thought, when you asked that, I thought maybe she's heard me give this spiel. So we have a document that Hope Healthcare provides our patients if they want it, and it's for anybody. Anyone can have one. It's called the 5 Wishes document. It's a very small little document. It's a paper that you can fill out, and it asks a series of questions through the document. And if you answer the questions completely in blue or black ink, and you sign it, it does not need to be notarized. It acts as a binding living will, which I cannot encourage enough. I think everyone should have a living will. I don't care if you're 20 or 200. We should have something that says what we want if we aren't able to say for ourselves. That saves a lot of heartache and headache for family members when things unexpectedly happen to loved ones. I didn't bring any with me. I don't believe I have any left, but I can bring some if it would be okay. I can have someone drop a stack off here for anyone that wants them. But I definitely can recommend that. It's a very easy document to complete, and it asks questions in a very applicable way, a way that we understand, a way that we think. So yeah, it's a great document. Thank you for asking.
I think it's wonderful. I mean, it says, would you like a wet chromosome?
Yeah, it covers every little thing. Because some people don't. Some people are very. It's just interesting. Everyone has different things that they would want done and not done for them. In that case, yes, sir.
It's a very long document. It's 5 pages.
It's 5 pages, but it's not. It's not. It's like a question, then it leaves like a good paragraph for you to write. You know. Yes. This is not in replacement of anything you would do with your attorney by any means. Yes, those are different documents. This is just saying that if you were in a position where you weren't able to speak to yourself, it tells your family, would dad want, life support? Would dad want not want that, or whatever the case is?
Bruce, you had a question back there?
Yeah, I'm so confused. Okay, what's a registry and an agency? Bubble that among yourself.
No, that was my fault. I was just asking. There's it's just industry talk, but it's basically we're just saying that they check out all your caregivers for you ahead of time. They're doing all that hard work for you to make sure that who comes in your home is exactly who they're supposed to.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what we wanted to, what you're trying to say is it's probably better for us to go to the company, not
Yes.
to go to an individual person who left a card on your door.
Right.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
I'm going to bring the mic to you guys. So who has another question? Yeah. Go ahead.
Does this work? Okay. Okay. Do you get involved at all with filing claims or helping claims with a long-term care insurance company?
Yes, sir, we do. Yep. We have an entire team that's dedicated to long-term care insurance. We send everything in to whoever it is, Genworth or whoever. There's like 6 big ones now that really have swooped up all the other ones. And we would send all the information in. You just have to sign that we are allowed to access your policy, and then we'll send back what it's called it'll be a 1-page sheet that says how much you have per day, per week, any exemptions, limitations, when it begins, etc. So we can do all that for you.
That's wonderful.
So that you know what to expect and when to expect it.
Yeah, so we're not on our own with the.
You're not on your own,
Yeah.
no.
And
Some people prefer to be on their own. They can be on their own and submit the claims themselves, or we can do it for you. So there's a whole.
If I'm lying in bed, half sick, I'm probably not going to file my own claim.
Right.
But we'll help each other. Yeah, and the 5 wishes thing, it seems like there can be some conflicts with, I've got healthcare directive, and some of the things you're talking about, 5 wishes, are exactly what's in the healthcare directive.
And
So there
it's
can
a
be-
good document. If you already have everything worked out with your attorney, then I would say stick with that. But if you don't have something, this is just a document that you could do right now today if you wanted to, if you didn't already have something.
Yeah,
But it in no way replaces anything that you've done with your current
Or if I only have
family.
4 wishes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm private pay, so I have a registry or agency, and it would be easier for Mom if we had a hospital bed. Would you arrange that for us, or?
Well, a hospital bed can be ordered by your physician through home health. They can take care of that for you, or they can also order. Your physician can order it to be covered under your Medicare. If you want it privately, or you don't qualify for it, then I would send you. There's a few. Depends where you live. There's a few places that you can either rent them, so you don't have to pay out of pocket right away. But I would basically send you to the right person to go get it go get, depending upon where you live. There's a few companies here that provide it. There's one down by the NCH Hospital. There's one in, I think it's called Marquesa Square, and then there's a couple in Fort Myers, depending upon what you need. And they deliver, et cetera, if you're going to be paying privately for it or if it's been ordered for your physician. If you're in hospice, then
I was going to say,
take care of
something
that.
to think about is if you're caring for someone, your mother or whoever, and they might be declining to the point where they need more equipment like that. They're needing a hospital bed. They're needing shower chairs. That might be something to ask your primary care physician if a hospice referral might be the right thing. Because if it is, then we'll pay for that. And we'll bring it in, we'll set it up, we'll take it away when you don't need it anymore. We will do it all, no problem, but you have to be on our service. So if you find that, hey, mom's needing this more and more and more, this is something, it might be worth asking your doctor about.
Anybody else have questions?
Yes.
Okay.
For a person who wants to sign up with your company, Carrie, how much does it cost for them to sign up? Do they have to pay for their own vetting fees?
No, we don't charge a sign-up fee. Some companies do. We don't charge a deposit. You just call us, we'll set up an intake, and myself or my manager or one of our experienced case managers that knows how to do it will come out and do it. My background is I was a nursing home administrator, so generally they like me to go out and do the intakes, but certainly there's other people in our office that we could arrange it for your availability, and there's no fee for that, of course. So.
There was just a couple thoughts I had while we were talking. So as you know, Medicare has straight Medicare, and more and more and more, these Advantage plans are a thing. And I don't want to demonize anybody, okay? But from my experience and the things I've learned, when you get to the point that you're going to need extended rehab, inpatient rehab, or you get to the point that you're going to really be using home health services, straight Medicare is the best payer to the companies that are providing these services. With that being said, you will have less days and less benefits depending on the Advantage plan that you have. So in order to sort of save over here, they cut and paste from other benefits. And that's something people don't know, because the people marketing to you to sign up with these Advantage plans are going to be motivated by getting you signed up, so they're going to be portraying these Advantage plans in the best light possible. But it's just like when the phone companies opened up, and you had Bell South and whatever. Now all of a sudden you have MCI and AT&T and whatever, but really it's all the same framework underneath. Medicare is still the thing that pays them. One of the things that's nice though is, let's say you have a fall or a significant health thing that occurs, that entitles you to get back to straight Medicare. And there's a lot of those things that qualify for that. And then once a year, you have open enrollment, so you can switch back to straight Medicare if you get to that place. Another thing about our area is there are a lot of companies like Carrie's, and there are a lot of nursing homes. So the home health aides and the certified nursing aides, they get paid so much by the nursing home or by the private duties that most of the companies like mine do not provide any aids, even if a doctor were to write you a prescription for that. There may be only one or two insurances that will even pay for aids now. So the long-term thing, if that's still an option, is a really good investment. Because in our area, like if we were in Kansas or somewhere else where the age demographic was more diversified, there would be a lot of those aides willing to take the pay that the home health company would pay them in order to give you those services. But here, they won't. They can make more at the nursing home or with Carrie's company. So a lot of people will ask me that. They go, well, don't you guys provide aids and don't you do this? And no, we kind of in this area, in Lee and Collier County, it's mostly just very skilled services that we can provide. Yeah.
You must have had ESP because you probably answered about 50% of my question. But to carry it one step further, let's say a snowbird obviously has a Medicare Advantage plan from the state that they currently reside in or are residents of. Do you find more of a problem with payment from them than, let's say, a Florida Blue should something occur down here?
No, so there's a lot of good out-of-state Advantage plans, and Humana, United, those are really good. Florida, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Florida Blue, they have their own thing called CareCentrix. And so they make assignments. So a lot of the patients that maybe get referred to me by a physician or whatever, when I find out that they have Florida Blue as their primary, we have to send off all the paperwork to their kind of central hub, and then they make an assignment with a company in the area that has a contract that they're contracting. So, you know, it's sometimes I think if you have the ability to have straight Medicare as your primary, and then have your secondary be one of those Advantage plans if you're able to do that. Yeah.
I do have a question, actually. Erin, you were talking a little bit about term limits, I think, for certain people. So those term limits, so if that individual still was needing care, what would they do if their coverage ran out?
Okay, so so that gets you into kind of a tricky spot because you only have so many days for your rehab. But then if there is another event that occurs, you get more days again, and home health kind of works the same way. So you might have had a fall, you know, and got a little banged up, and we're going to work on your balance. We're going to work on your kind of core strengthening, and you know, if you fall again, that requalifies you for a whole nother episode of care. So yeah. You know, so there's, you know, there are lots of ways to work it. There are lots of ways to work it. You know, but the biggest thing is to just continue educating yourselves, you know, and to keep moving. I mean, this is going to sound so simple, but to just keep moving, keep walking every day. You know, it only takes 3 or 5 days in a hospital bed to decondition. And,
I think it's 3% of your muscle mass a day that we lose when we're bedbound.
Yeah. So
that was the most recent statistic. That's been a while. So the best thing we can do is move.
Yeah.
I think this might help you too. It's important to note we all work very closely together. Hospice, home health, home care. You know, if sometimes, let's say someone's receiving rehab and you get to the point where you get a little bit better, maybe not back where you were, but you get to a place where you kind of plateau. So Medicare won't pay for home health anymore. But that might be a good time that home health might say, hey, you know what, home care might be what you need to just stay independent in your home. And then they'll care for you for a while. And if they see a decline, then that's when they might call us. And that's why they bring all three of us in to show how we kind of work together to keep people as healthy and happy in their homes as long as possible. So maybe that's a good, does that kind of answer it?
Yeah, and also I just, from what I'm hearing here as well, is that sometimes when people are in home health care, those people that are helping them are only there for a limited amount of time within the home.
Oh, that's right. So
and the same with hospice.
Yes, so typically these visits are about 45 minutes to an hour. So for a lot of my patients, I might try to have the nurse come one day and the PT another day and the OT another day so that we're getting eyes on someone, you know, and that helps. And then, you know, I really like Carrie because like she said, she goes into the home herself. Most of the assessments she does. I like Griswold too because they don't make you pay a deposit. There are some of these companies out here just like hers, but they're going to make you put a few $1,000s and then, you know, that's going to be harder to get back. And Griswold is pretty fair, but just in the last 6 years, I've watched, the average, fee per hour go from about $22 to about 35 or 36. In Collier County, that's average is probably about $35 an hour, which is just quite a bit. Yeah, it's quite a bit. Yeah, Griswold has always
stay
been
below
very
the
fair.
average.
Yeah, very, very fair, for sure.
So if you have home health care, then I'm also assuming, since it is a limited amount of time,
Yeah.
that there are times that maybe home care is coming in at the
Yeah,
same time.
come in and help.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the
for
same
sure.
goes for hospice. I think a misconception is people assume that hospice is 24-hour care, and it can be towards the end. But we have patients who are on hospice for 6 months, 9 months, a year, and we're just coming in a couple of times a week, similar to home health. And if we have a patient who's on hospice that they want to stay in their home, but they need extra help to do that, we can't do that. Medicare won't pay us to. Then we recommend that they call somebody like Carrie to supplement that so that they can still stay in their home and get the care that they need. And we can come in and do some of the medical stuff.
Carrie,
Yes, sir.
on the sheet here, light housekeeping, would that include the annual house cleaning?
No annual, no getting up on a ladder and cleaning your ceiling
What
fans.
are the limits?
Yeah.
What are the
So light housekeeping is basically dusting, vacuuming. You can clean out the refrigerator, do the laundry. Gosh, it all depends. Do the dishes, put them away, the basic. Clean the bathroom after it's been used. I wouldn't expect anyone to scrape anything or scrub anything, but it all depends. Some caregivers don't mind. Other people have cleaning people and say, no, you don't have to do anything except put away the dishes, or wipe down the shower door. But it can be anything. Light housekeeping is basically light housekeeping. It wouldn't be, washing all your windows or you don't want anyone to climb up on a ladder or get on their hands and knees and scrub the floor. But certainly they can Swiffer around, they can vacuum, they can dust, they can pick up, they can, everything you do like on a daily basis to keep your house neat and clean.
Now, the one, they state they have a need. So if they have a need for someone who is medically trained, such as medication assist, that would be one person, and if they're not qualified for that, then you would have another person for the light housekeeping.
Well, a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant, or a home health aide, they can also do personal care. So they can do bathing, dressing, med reminders if they've had the training. They can do everything from soup to nuts. If they need a nurse, if they need med management, if they need a nurse, wound care, we're not allowed to touch wounds or change bandages or anything. That's when home health, when
that's
trilogy comes in.
And so, it's interesting too, because you'd think, physicians in our area would really be great at utilizing any of our services, but we spend just as much time doing, education. Because
We have these same talks with those doctors.
yes.
Telling them what we can help
And you got to
the
train them,
patients.
There's so many things they know, but there's so many things they don't. So, and these services are there. And so I'll leave some brochures up here if you guys didn't get one in your chair, but there's a whole host of services. So if your doctor writes the prescription, it's covered.
And what I always tell our clients too is that you've been paying into your Medicare your whole life. Take advantage of it. Use your hospice benefits. Use your home health benefits. Call, get signed up. That's what you've paid into. Use what you have available with your Medicare first and foremost, and then use us as a supplement, because so many people don't take advantage of their Medicare benefits. And somebody could be declining and they need, and I'll see a spouse and I'll say, well, I used to get PT a long time ago, but I haven't done it now. I just sit in my chair. Well, have Aaron come and let's get you on PT too, because your Medicare is going to pay for that. And it's amazing how people don't know and they just let it go. So same with hospice. I said, you don't have to be death and dying to use your hospice. So many people at the end of life, oh, no, I can't talk about hospice. We can't be in it. I said, it's a positive thing. Find out, get the information, but use your hospice benefits. There's palliative care. There's all sorts of benefits that are available to you because you've paid into your whole life.
And I think one of the biggest takeaways I hope that you guys take away, and I think that we could all agree, is that you're not in, like, aging is a challenging thing. I mean, every stage of life is just another challenging stage. I have a 2-year-old, it's a challenging stage. You know, we all are in different challenging stages, but you're not alone in this stage. So whatever service you're on, we work closely together. So if we see, hey, you know what, I think this patient really might need a little home health for a little therapy for this, or maybe a home care, we're here to help with that too. So, you know, if you're on Carrie's services and her team sees a change in a patient, they're gonna tell that patient and their family, this might be a good, XYZ might be the right thing for you. And the same would go for a hospice patient, and I think for a home health as well. So I would say the most important thing is reach out to use those services, because we're going to help link you to the other ones that you might need down the road. Sure. So hospice care and palliative care are not the same. They are very similar, but not the same. So the difference is solely the goal, the end goal. So palliative care is designed for people who have a severe illness, but might still be getting better. For example, if someone has cancer and they are receiving chemo and the chemo is helping, but they're very uncomfortable, they have a lot of pain, symptoms like that, then palliative care, we can bring them on under palliative care programming and help manage those symptoms to help keep them comfortable, but they're still receiving those chemo treatments and things like that. So the visits are less frequent. We kind of call it hospice light, if you will. And hopefully someone gets better and they don't need us anymore. That's the plan. That's the goal. Hospice is for when maybe that same patient has been on chemo for a long time, and chemo it's very painful. It leaves people in a very uncomfortable state for a long time. Then maybe they're not responding to chemo. They're not getting better anymore. And the doctor says, it's not going to make you better. So now we're just going through these painful treatments and there's no real benefit to it. Then hospice is what comes into. We'll help manage those symptoms, but we won't pursue chemo. So once a patient has decided, I don't want to do chemo anymore, it's too much of a pain, I don't like it, then hospice is the right time to move from palliative care to hospice. So that's the differentiation. Like I said, lots of patients come on our services and graduate off of them. That's the term, we graduate off of service. So it kind of depends on the patient needs, but it's all about that goal. If doctors think that you're going to recover, then it's palliative care. If doctors think this is not something we're going to recover from, then it's hospice. No problem.
Any other questions?
This is for Carrie. Can a home care worker administer prescription drugs that are put in a weekly plan or AM, PM, or do you have to have a healthcare worker?
They can assist with self-administered medications. So if they're not allowed to touch it and put it sort it in your pill container, but they can assist you to take it. They can remind you to take it. The caregivers have training in self-administered medication. They take CEUs, which are continuing education units, every 2 years to update them on everything they have to do. So as long as they have that continuing education background and they have the CEUs that we verify, then they're allowed to remind you, to assist you, but they can't like give injections. They can't, if somebody isn't able to at least take it, they're not able to like put it in your mouth. Does that make sense? They can assist you, they can help you with it, but they're not allowed to. You have to have an RN or an LPN to do that, and that would be through, like medication management through home health. And so then we would contact home health to get that set up for you. If you need med management, we can assist with. The CNAs and HHAs that have the certification can assist with it, but if we go further than that, it has to be an RN or an LPN.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Well, I thank you so much on behalf of all of us here for coming today, and hopefully you got a lot of questions answered. And thank you, Aaron and Carrie and Rhiannon, for being here.
Wait. Thank you. Yeah.
If you want to ask individual questions, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah.
We're going to offer refreshments in a few minutes. I'm going to have Rachel say a quick prayer before we do that. And if anybody needs to use restrooms, there's a ladies and a men's restroom down the hallway.
Thank you, Sue. All right. Yes, again, we just want to thank all of you for coming. We appreciate your time. And just as Sue just said, they will stick around for a little while to answer any questions. And we do have refreshments in the back. And I'm going to close this in prayer. Dear Father, Lord, I just want to thank you for this beautiful day. And I thank you for all these beautiful people that you have created in your image. And Lord, I thank you for our wonderful speakers, Lord, who have given us a lot of information. And Father, I just pray, Lord, that you would help us to be able to be more equipped to move forward in our lives and in assessing these types of things. And I just pray, Lord, that you would guard our hearts and our minds in Christ Jesus. Lord, that when we do need services like these, that you would help us to trust you with the details of our lives. And I just pray, Lord, that you would also help us to receive the very best care and information that we need. And I pray, Lord, that you would be glorified in us. And I just lift this up in the precious name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.